Thank you for joining us for another informative, educational, and entertaining edition of Music and Medicine with Dr. Charles Modlin, kidney transplant surgeon, board-certified urologist, public speaker, and well-known community national leader for the elimination of health disparities, dedicated to informing you, the listening audience, about important health topics and health information that you, your family, and your community need to know, while at the same time providing you with quality entertainment, because music and entertainment is medicine. Dr. Modlin's co-hosts are Jerome Brown and registered nurse Jonathan Branch, and the program often includes special content expert guests. So, without further ado, here is the host of the show, Dr. Charles Modlin.
Well, hello, everybody out there in the listening audience. I really appreciate that wonderful introduction. I'm very appreciative of that. And we're really thrilled to have another opportunity to spend with you, the listening audience. We actually have a very remarkable show this evening with a very special and important, well-known guest, Mr. Tony Sias. He's the president and CEO of the historic Karamu House, but we're going to talk more about that and introduce Tony in a few minutes. I wanted to start off the show, as I often do, highlighting an important topic, especially that's important in the Black community. And I just read an article from the Journal of Blacks in Higher Education. This is an academic publication that I just reviewed, and the one of the highlights or the headlines is Black student college graduation rates remain low, but modest progress begins to show. So, you know, we all know, and we've talked about this before on the program, that African Americans in particular are lagging behind other racial and ethnic groups when it comes to educational attainment. High school graduation rates, we lag several percentage points behind, and also in college graduation rates. But again, this report notes that there is some encouraging news in the fact that African American enrollments at the vast majority of our nation's highest ranked colleges and universities have shown significant improvement over the past quarter century. It goes on to talk about, but a more important statistical measure of performance in Blacks in higher education is how many Black students throughout the nation are completing school and earning their college degrees. So it talks about also, you know, the importance, and this data is indisputable. Those who attain a college education have a higher quality of life and better economic opportunities than those who do not go on to complete their college education. So it talks about Blacks who complete a 4-year college education have a median income that is in near parity with similarly educated whites. So we have to keep our fingers to the pulse of what's going on with higher education and our African American students there. And again, we've talked about this. We've covered this with several of our guests. There are several things that we can do, those of us in the older generation, to help the younger generation navigate their success journeys. I'm going to briefly mention again, as I have before several times, my book that I recently published. It isn't difficult to do if you know how to do it. And I recently published a companion workbook and journal to go along with that. And I highlight this with respect to what I just referenced about the importance of finishing your high school degree, attaining your high school diploma, but then optimally going on to complete and obtain your college diploma, so that you'll have more opportunities in life. There's another book that I highly recommend that you all read. I've mentioned this maybe once before. It's called Permission to Dream. It's a book by author Chris Gardner. This is a phenomenal book. Actually, it can transform lives. And basically the synopsis, the genesis of the book, Mr. Gardner talks about his personal challenges growing up. He was homeless at one point, but he also talks about how, especially in the Black community, minority communities, a lot of our ancestors or a lot of our young people actually have grown up under certain circumstances whereby they didn't actually see a way out from poverty or from a lot of the social determinants that actually influence their opportunities in life. And so he reminds, especially us, the older generation, that we have to instill within the minds the very fabric. We have to elevate the self-esteem of our young people and let them know that they actually do have permission to dream, to think big, to aspire, to achieve their goals in life. So those are some of the things that we have to remember. I wanted to take time to thank Reverend Dr. Charles Yost. He is the former senior pastor of Church of the Savior in Cleveland Heights, for having me out at Lakeside, Chautauqua, about 3 weeks ago or so, to speak to an audience out there about my success journey and to talk about the lessons contained in my book. So I really appreciate having had an opportunity. This was featured in the Lakeside Chautauqua News Weekly. So I really appreciate having had an opportunity to speak out there. The Lakeside is a United Methodist community out on, it's out by a little bit past Sandusky on the Marblehead Peninsula. Okay, so actually with that in mind, we want to go ahead and move the show along. Jerome Brown, are you there?
Oh yeah, man. How you doing today?
Yeah,
how everybody doing for that matter?
Oh yeah, I'm doing great. I hope the audience is, and hope you're doing great. So thanks for being with us.
Hey, if the audience is tuned in tonight, they're doing great too.
Yes, absolutely. So, it's been a busy summer. We've all been very busy doing what we do, but we wanted to take some time and self-reflect and be thankful for all the opportunities that we've had. And we've all been blessed in many ways. And so one thing, often I listen to the radio station, WOVU, the urban radio station here in Cleveland.
Great
and
station.
One of the disc jockeys or show host is T.C. Lewis.
Okay, I know
and,
TC.
Yeah, TC, remarkable lady. She always starts her show off. I hope all of you have had an opportunity to drink some fresh, clean water.
How about that? Let's toast to TC right now, then.
Toast to TC. and I told her I'm going to steal that line from her, but thinking about being grateful, we have to remember there are a lot of people in the world who do not have access to clean water on a daily basis.
Indeed. So
we can't take the fact that we have Lake Erie right here. We have a great source of fresh water. So we have to be thankful to that. And again, we want to toast T.C. Lewis. Thank you.
You know what? One more toast too, because ironically, let's toast to Imani Capri because I was on her show this morning. So you bring up WOVU. So let's one more toast for Imani too.
Absolutely. So, as I mentioned, we actually have a very special guest. We're thrilled that he, with all the stuff that he's doing, he's taken some time to spend with us and the audience. So we have Tony Sias. Everybody knows who Tony Sias is. He doesn't need an introduction, but I can't really do justice in terms of an introduction, but I'm just going to read a little bit about the great Tony Sias. So, as I mentioned, he's president, he's CEO of the Karamu House, which is the nation's oldest multicultural arts institution. It's located in the heart of Cleveland's historic Fairfax community. And Tony's going to tell us about the history of Karamu. But Karamu produces professional theater, provides arts education, presents community programming for all people while honoring the African-American experience. So prior to going to Karamu, Tony was the director of arts education for the Cleveland Metropolitan School District, and artistic director of the School of Arts. He's had many accolades. he's actually has a lot of directing credits. West Side Story, Footloose, Carmen Jones, Free Man of Color, Summer Nights and Fireflies, Dreamgirls, Guys and Dolls. I mean, the list goes on and on. He has several acting credits. On the Road with Duke, Angels in America, Parts 1 and 2, Black Eagles, Big River, Oak and Ivy, Jazz Poet on Broadway. I mean, there's so many things that he has done. He's received many accolades and awards as well. So, I mean, he's a very busy guy. And so, with that, I'd like to invite Mr. Tony Sias to the platform.
Hey, good evening.
Tony.
Hey, thanks for spending time with us.
Oh, you're more than welcome. Pleasure's mine.
Thank you. So, Tony, we want to actually give you the floor. We want you to tell the audience, about your background, how you came to be where you are. Obviously, want to hear, about Karamu House, what's happened in the past, what's happening now, what we can anticipate is going to be happening in the near future. And again, this is music and medicine, and we all know that music is medicine, entertainment is medicine. We all need a respite to escape from the rigors, the challenges, the stressors that we all face. Everybody we know out there faces stressors. And, music and entertainment, theater, it's all an opportunity for us to escape and congregate with one another. And we can do that now, in this post-COVID. COVID's still around, but it's not,
a little bit.
Yeah, it's not to the extent where we have to isolate.
I'm still doing the fist bumps, Doc. I'm still doing the bumps.
A lot of people, I think that's going to persist.
It is.
In many ways. But so Tony, really, so the floor is yours. Just tell us a little bit about yourself and your role, what you're doing at Karamu.
Well, my name is Tony Fitzgerald Sias. I'm the fifth child of 6 Helen and Leo Sias. I am a native of Jackson, Mississippi. I did my undergraduate work at Jackson State University, historically Black university in Jackson, Mississippi. Arts and culture has been just a part of my life from, I think, my inception. My mother was a creative, and my father, as a contractor, was a creative. He was a fence erector and designer. And my mother taught home economics for about 34 years, but she also had a dance troupe. And she used arts and culture as a vehicle to help guide young people to positive outcomes in their personal lives. So I kind of always did it as a kid. We would watch Hee Haw and the Lawrence Welk Show, and we would have our own Saturday night family talent show. And so during the day after you left your piano lesson or your cello lesson or whatever musical lesson you would go to, because we all had to study an instrument, then we'd have this talent show. So the expectations of coming together as a family and sharing talent has always just been there for me. Originally, I wanted to be an opera singer, and my parents were really concerned that I would be challenged with the languages, the romantic languages. So I decided to be an actor. So what brought me to Ohio was to do my Master's of Fine Art at Ohio University. What got me to Cleveland was to complete the MFA, you had to get a residency at a regional theater. And so I got a residency at the Cleveland Playhouse and had no intentions of staying in Cleveland outside of that year. And 31 years later, here we sit. So Cleveland has been a great environment that I really have grown to love, and it is my second home. And I've decided Cleveland will be my resting place at the appropriate time. So
wow,
that is my level of commitment to the great city of Cleveland.
Wow.
You and I can relate. I was supposed to only be here for 2 years. I did a kidney transplant fellowship at Cleveland Clinic. I wound up doing an extra year of combined clinical research. 29 years later now, I'm still here. So I don't know.
We're in good company on that one.
Well, the only thing is I don't know exactly where my resting place is going to be, but we'll
Cleveland Brown Stadium.
Yeah. So you have a little clip I think you you're going to play for us that talks a little bit about the history of Karamu?
Yeah, so this would be a great time to just it gives a history of Karamu and some of our more notable alums who've come out of the institution.
Yeah, thank you.
Welcome you into sacred space, onto ground that is legendary, into space that summons joy and pride. We welcome you to Karamu House. When segregation ran rampant in our history, we welcome all as freed slaves migrated north. Our home was a place of refuge. Founded by the Jellifs, Rowena and Russell Jelliff set new standards. A Jewish couple with the vision to unite and to uplift. A vision with an unapologetic value of diversity. An unapologetic commitment to excellence in the arts. Welcome to our home. A place that witnessed the lies society tried to push, that African Americans were not enough. A place that witnessed the abuse of African Americans physically and mentally and decided to make a difference, to be the difference. A place that decided to take a stand, a place that became a home to cultivate the work of artists with a special honor to Black artists. The home where Langston Hughes wrote verses and taught poetry, where countless playwrights of the Harlem Renaissance received support and space to develop their artistry. Shirley Graham, Conrad Sealer, Andrew M. Burris, Willis Richardson, and Zora Neale Hurston works were advocated for and produced with excellence. This is a place of inclusion, a place in which the halls were graced by Martin Luther King Jr., where the largest number of buses left Ohio to attend the March on Washington, where Rosa Parks spoke. A place for collaboration, a place that is firm in its integrity. This is Karamu House. Karamu, a Swahili word meaning a joyful place of gathering. We are a place of joy, where stories and dance, music and art are shared with quality and shared to make impact. Where programming, education, performances unite, showing the beauty in all of us, the talent in all of us, the value in all of us. For 105 years, we have been here in Cleveland, Ohio, where names known and unknown, young and old, have left marks that will never fade. Vanessa Bell Calloway, Ruby Dee, Imani Hakeem, Langston Hughes, and James Pickens Jr., and countless others. The place that is for you, for me, for all. Welcome to the legendary Karamu House.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's incredible. The history.
Thank you.
I'm a little bit younger than you guys, and I've never went to a play or anything like that in the Karamu House, driven past there all my life. I can say now, having you on and seeing the film, it's a must. I must attend something there, just for the spirit.
Well, we do usually pre-pandemic, we were doing a 6-show season. During the pandemic, we did a pivot and we did virtual work, but it was not Zoom productions. We were mounting fully filmed, actual theatrical productions. And it's important that, generations of young people historically were coming through Karamu House. So very few places that we go, people that say, well, my mother, my grandmother, my child, somebody has a connection. So although you may not have been through Karamu, I know that there are more people that have been through Karamu House. So we want to extend an invitation for you, a personal invitation from me, to attend one of our productions this upcoming season.
That'll be beautiful. A friend of mine named is Q Spates. He not too long ago passed away, but him and his father did some of your work inside of there. I don't know if it was the drywall or the lighting, but him and his dad years ago did a lot of good work inside of there. Yeah.
Well, that's really important. We're currently in phase 3 renovations. So by the end of February of 2023, we'll have a brand new outdoor stage. Nice. We will have a bistro inside of Karamu, a brand new streetscape on the corner of East 89th and Quincy with a huge marquee that once you arrive at that corner, you'll know that you've arrived at a destination location.
There you go.
So it's so important to have everybody has a hand in Cleveland around Karamu, whether it's people like your friends who have contributed to the carpentry there of renovations early on, or those people who are currently doing programs, or interns or students, or our actors, or just simply our patrons. So it's, Karamu is a key Swahili word that means a place of joyful gathering in the center of the community. And we try to live that on a day-to-day basis. So, and we go beyond just theatrical productions. We have a concert series. We've done comedy. But with the comedy, this is the thing. I don't believe in censoring, but the spirit of the ancestors told me to do one thing.
Right.
That we asked the comedians to shy away from F, N, and B. And I'm not talking about First National Bank. And so, because, a lot of our comedians who are prior to coming to Karamu, they were, at the juke joint down the street, and people wouldn't focus their attention on the work that they were doing on that set.
Yeah.
And many of their family members wouldn't go to those locations. But once we started doing comedy at Karamu House, people said their mama, their grandmother, their cousin, their aunt, the preacher would come. And even sometimes if the language would get a little risque, it was still a safe place that they knew that there was a level of respect inside of Karamu House. And so we were so excited about 4 years ago to add comedy to our programming offering outside of our traditional theater work.
Yeah, that's great. Jerome, looking at that history, that video, that just amplifies for me the weight that Tony is carrying on his shoulders on a daily basis. So this history lives on, this legacy of Karamu, this is on his shoulders, along with the supporters and the trustees and others. But he is the custodian of all that to make sure that this goes on. So yeah.
Yeah, that's heavy, man. That's why, I commend you, because it takes like a special person to be able to put everything together and to have everybody in agreement on a lot of the stuff to get things done. You're going to have situations where this person may say this and this person may say that, and you're in the middle of it. And somehow, some way, you've been able to successfully navigate through all of this stuff. And it's not easy sometimes, Tony. I'm sure it's not. But go ahead.
No, I said this is an appointment from God.
Exactly.
And so I am an obedient servant to that word. And what's really interesting and is building consensus. And the process of theater is coming to rehearsal, learning how to work together. And so that's the model that I use in working with our constituents, our boards. It's really around a team-based approach and collaboration, and knowing when to step back and when to step up, and what your deal breakers are. But it's really better understanding how to work with the community as a whole, because it's so easy to let ego get in the way. And I'm sure you've heard this saying before: ego is nothing but ego, etching God out. And I feel like if we keep away and keep the mission and vision of the institution first and foremost, in the spirit of joy, then I feel like we can continue to accomplish the work on behalf of the institution and on behalf of the community, most importantly.
Yeah, you put your spirit in it. You put your spirit in it as all those other people who have come there and performed and were a part of it. Like you said, you chose to lay, the final day be here. So, I mean, that's if they don't follow you on that, bro, they're not with you, because that is really heavy.
I've had opportunity to visit Karamu on several occasions, see several productions. I've actually enjoyed hearing the great Bill Cobbs speak there several times at Karamu, a friend of mine. One of the best productions or most entertaining productions I saw was Peter Lawson Jones in Fences. That was, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 years ago. I forget how many years ago, but that was quite entertaining.
I had the honor and pleasure of directing that production as well as producing it. And I tell you, it's one of my favorite August Wilson pieces. And I had the pleasure some play Troy in that piece. And so that piece really resonates with me. And, you know, as they say in show business, casting is 90% of the job. So getting the right actors in the right role is the work, is the heavy lift. Then moving forward with the vision and all the other stuff kind of usually falls in place. But it's getting the right people in the right roles.
You know, I'm an old trumpet player. I could actually play that trumpet part.
Okay.
Here we go. Here we go.
So auditions are coming up in early September, Doc. So maybe that's something there for you.
But see, Jerome, I don't know if you saw Fences. It's just a little, he's just squeaking. He's not really playing. He's just squeaking.
Oh, okay, really?
His brother. So I can definitely play that part, you know.
Okay.
You got that covered.
Yeah, I got that covered. You know, he's looking up to the sky, and yeah, it's quite moving. I think I saw that 2 or 3 times over there.
Thank you.
So what's coming up? What are some of the productions that are coming up that we need to know about?
So as I mentioned earlier, we're in phase 3 renovation. So we haven't announced our season yet, because when they talk about supply chain issues in this climate, that is very real.
Okay.
So usually we start our first show, and our first big production will be our Black Nativity. And so the fact that we haven't publicly announced the season yet, that's the only thing that I can say at this point as a part of tonight's conversation.
So we're not going to announce tonight that I'm starring over there in an upcoming production.
Wait. Now you've stolen my thunder.
Okay.
Taken my thunder. Now all the people know.
Okay.
So yeah, we look forward. You know, people say that they have seen Black Nativity, but each year over the past several years, we reimagine the production. Of course, that is the Nativity story told from an African perspective, Black perspective. And so we encourage people to, you know, come out, see the show. It will not be the show that you saw last year or the show that you saw 30 years ago. We keep it fresh. We keep fresh new ideas to make it relevant to 21st century. So we encourage people to, once tickets go on sale, get them ASAP, because we will sell out. That's really a really important production for us every year.
So real quick, I wanted to, I looked when I was reading about you, your work, your biography. There was reference to the fact that you co-authored the article "Use of Live Theater to Increase Minority Participation in Alzheimer's Disease Research." That was published in the Alzheimer's Disease Associates Disorders, which was an international journal. So you actually and other artists at Karamu use your talents to actually disseminate important health information, medical information, in collaboration with healthcare providers. And I know I've been over the years, I've been to some productions where there was theatrical performance around the importance of healthcare screenings, elimination of healthcare disparities. You know, that's important, very important to put in an artistic form information that people will be able to receive and be willing to receive. That is in their best interest. You know, including healthcare. I think that's very important.
Well, you know, the arts are, for me, go beyond the point of entertaining. We have to use this as a vehicle to educate and activate our community towards better choices and decisions. And people from diverse coming together to have this experience all have it from their own personal vantage point. But what is it like for us to have this shared experience and then reflect it from our own perspective? But it's so important to not just use theater to educate, but it's not just to entertain, but to educate and activate communities.
Yes.
I think that's first and foremost. You know, even in our arts education programming, we driving our young people towards mastering whatever arts discipline they choose to focus in on, because mastery is at the foundation here. But we want them to use those skills to be positive contributing members of our society. So if they so choose to become further their education and training in the arts, great. But we want them to first and foremost use this to be better individuals, to go out in the world and contribute in that way. Understanding how to work in teams, using problem-solving skills, understanding that, text may mean something on the surface, but there is subtext. What is the interpretation under that? And then be able to understand how to read as you move through your professional career. So these are all the kinds of skills that we want young people. And I say young people, we have lifelong learners who are taking our classes. And as adults, I hope we all stay in a of improvement to continue to learn and grow. So it's so important that we use these skills beyond just the part of entertaining, that it's developing whole people, it's helping to develop and better the world in which we live in. And that's the power of music, arts, and culture as a whole, to better understand each other and to be able to see things from different vantage points.
Jerome, the general public may not know this, and a lot of times medical schools actually hire or partner with actors and actresses to portray patients. So it helps in the development of medical students' abilities, nursing students' abilities to communicate with patients, perform physical examinations. When we actually partner with theatrical performers who can portray patients. Obviously, medical students work with real patients, obviously, but before we actually unleash them, to work with real patients, actually, in many situations and in most medical schools, there's partnership with the theatrical performers. Very, very important.
Never knew that. And that's what I love about this show. I learned something new every episode. I've never known. I mean, it makes total sense that you would have them talk to an actor or actress before the actual patient, for sure. So that's an excellent buffer, you know what I mean? But never thought about it like that, So that's another avenue that the arts and crafts contributes to the medical field. That's beautiful.
Yeah. So Tony, you were talking about your arts and education program, and I've always had this on my mind as in my bucket list to take some acting lessons. So if you were to, at this moment, let's say Jerome and I are coming to your class. We've never taken an acting class before. This is our first lesson. What's one of the first things you would teach us to do in terms of learning how to be an actor?
It starts with me with just understanding your instrument, your body, because different from other art forms, if you're a musician, you have the piano, unless you're a vocalist. But your body is your instrument, and better understanding how your body moves, that all movement starts at the spine, better understanding the power of the breath and how it informs so many things. Understanding, that people carry themselves in different ways. Some people lead with their chest or the position of their feet. So better understanding your body and your instruments. I'm not going to throw a script in your hand immediately and say, let's act. You want to better understand who you are as a person and how your instrument operates. Better understanding how you make eye contact. And quite often in life, we get to moving and doing things. And the technique in acting is you can only do one thing at a time. And you have to start that action, because that action does not start with a movement. It starts with a thought. Okay. Yeah. And so better understanding your instrument, the thought process, and using your instrument will be some of the first things that we would talk about and begin to explore, not even talk about, it's to begin to do.
Is it true? I mean, I've heard this said several times that actors and actresses, a lot of times when they're portraying a certain character, whether it's on a theater on the theater stage or in a movie, that they assume that personality in their real life also, during that while they're filming the movie or during that period of time. Is that true, or is that just something that's?
Well, it depends on the actor.
Yeah.
Many actors do have that experience. When I act, depending on the role, characteristics of that character that may live with me during the run of a show. So if a show is running 4 to 6 weeks, you got the rehearsal process. So it is a moment of turning it on and turning it off. Usually a show goes down about 10 o'clock at night. Just curtains up at 7:30, shows down 10 o'clock. Well, for me as an actor, because I won't speak for all actors, it takes me about 3 or 4 hours to shake that character. And when you mention the character of Troy from Fences, what I found myself doing was I had a very distinctive walk for that character, because I was a younger man when I played the role of Troy in Fences. So that walk was with me until I went to bed almost. I would try to shake it off. And that was one of the more challenging characters to disconnect with. Another character that I played that lived with me throughout that run, I did a one-man show of Paul Robeson. And so Paul was a pure basso, pure bass. I'm a baritone, so I had to find my lowest register as a baritone. He was a tall, darker man than I was, so I had to find how my lift and how my carriage in that character. So that was a very interesting experience, and that I was still working a full-time job. So with that particular character, I had to actually leave. During the rehearsal process, it became very clear to me what it was going to take of me, my whole spirit invested in that character. So it can be so consuming, and releasing those characters after the run of a show can be very emotional, depending on the character, because you have then embodied that spirit of that person, that character, and it becomes a part of who you are. So it really is a process of letting go and transitioning out of characters, especially those who are characters that are dramatic, that kind of require a different kind of depth from you. Every role does not have that same kind of weight in my experience, but there have been those seminal roles that have been a bit daunting to disconnect with and to connect with in the process of portraying those characters.
So yeah, I mean, it's getting in the right mindset. I mean, there's a lot, and again, we're learning so much, Jerome, that I had never heard before. This is really fascinating. Would we? Could I be so bold as to ask you to let us hear your baritone voice? Is that? I don't want to put you on the spot or anything.
I very seldom make this request of people, and most often I say no.
Okay.
I got to roll up into the kingdom. Ain't that good news? That's the best you're going to get tonight.
Hey, that's tremendous.
So yeah, because many performers can be on the spot. They just give it to you, and that's just not me as an artist. I am that person who prefers to give myself the mental transition time to get over to that headspace and do the work. So I have a huge amount of appreciation for those who can just jump right into it. And that's really not my approach to the work.
Oh, I mean, that was fantastic. And, again, forgive me for asking.
No need to apologize. None whatsoever.
So, Jerome, let me hear your baritone voice.
Oh, it ain't happening, Doc. You have to take that. $59.95 per month. Subscription for a year before you get one. But it seems like being an actor has a little bit of a Nutty Professor situation where you got Buddy Love and breaking out of the body, and you're trying to keep staying role, and that's crazy, man. that a couple hours later you still limping or you still walking like the dude, you know?
Yeah. And I have some friends who can walk out, who can be shooting it, you know, talking smack backstage a second before they walk out on stage and nail
snap.
it.
And snap.
And I'm the person who requires, you know, 2 hours before curtain, I get to the theater. I don't want to talk to anybody. I'm going to my dressing room, get dressed. If there are others in that dressing room, by the time they get there, I have removed myself. I am going somewhere and be quiet.
No, yeah,
and that's what I require. And everybody doesn't do that, but I need that level of focus.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see that also in medicine in certain respects. You know, different surgeons have different rituals that they go through and before they operate. So yeah, I mean that's you know, I've actually witnessed that in medicine as well, and you know that's good to know that, you know, about the variability in terms of how different entertainers approach, you know, their craft. I understand you have another film or video that you might be able to show us also about Karamu.
Well, you know, yes, central to Karamu's mission is honoring the Black experience. And that's, and in the same breath, Karamu is about inclusion and everybody is welcome. And that's very important. So we did a piece in 2021, last year, June of 2021, called Greenwood, An American Destroyed. And it was about the Tulsa Race Massacre, better known as Black Wall Street. And so the story is told through this very affluent Black family who witnessed the entire massacre. And so here's the brief trailer. It'll give you some more information.
Thank you.
100 years ago was the thriving and prosperous Black community in the Greenwood district of Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Greenwood Avenue. They've created their own American dream here, I see.
Since we can't do business with white folks in Tulsa,
we're going to keep on creating our own Negro Wall Street right here.
From award-winning playwright Celeste Bedford Walker and Karamu House, America's oldest Black producing theater, comes Greenwood, An American Dream Destroyed. Comes the story of one family's up-close and personal account of one of the most ignored moments in American history, the Black Wall Street Massacre.
I think I'm in trouble.
What kind of trouble?
Big trouble with the law.
What did you do?
They're saying that
That you what?
put my hands on a white woman. I'm getting out of town.
I'm leaving with you.
Hey, have y'all heard?
Heard what?
Jimmy Jones was just arrested down Greenwood Avenue.
They're going to lynch him. It's right here. Look.
There's 3 white men just broke into the courthouse demanding Jimmy be turned over to them.
I just saw the National Guard marching in.
Oh, thank God.
But I don't know whose side they're on. Running gunfights, mobsters set fires.
That white mob came for dear old Greenwood.
Hello?
Dr. Jackson. Frank!
Everybody get down! White rage let loose. An invasion. Bombs from planes overhead raining down sticks of dynamite. In the aftermath of the disaster, all surviving Negroes were placed under arrest. The dead were dumped unceremoniously into mass, unmarked graves. But Molly's dream for the living is still living on. A better American dream.
Greenwood, An American Dream Destroyed. Beginning this June from Karamu House, presented by Bank of America.
Yeah, that's remarkable. Makes me very emotional. Just when I grew up in the 60s and 70s, and I can tell in Central Indiana, I can tell you, not once did we ever hear about this atrocity. It wasn't taught in our history books, or we didn't know about it. You know.
Well, that's one of the roles of Karamu House, is to educate people about history. That this piece, when we produced it, so many people, so many Clevelanders and people around the country really wasn't aware of this massacre, that this town had thrived in multiple banks, oil barons, thriving businesses, own movie theaters, and that it was actually as prosperous as the quote unquote white Tulsa. And that there was rage and jealousy around how this community of Greenwood was thriving. And so when this massacre happened, the fact that there were bombs from an air raid means that this was beyond the city's coordinated effort of destruction.
That's
and so
crazy.
it is. It really is. And that, this young man who was a shoe shine boy and had a thriving business in downtown wanted to go to the bathroom, and there was only a bathroom on the 6th floor of one of the buildings. He went in, and the elevator operator was an inexperienced elevator operator, and the floor did not level out when she opened the door. And he tripped when he went into the elevator and reached for her was trying to stop himself from falling and grabbed her arm. She then began to scream and shout and make all this noise. And then that was the inciting incident or the excuse to begin this massacre. And within a 36-hour window, hell broke loose. But again, this is around, you think about in certain states, the eradication of certain important American history. And for many years and generations, this American story not being included, not in my history books when I was in school in the 60s and 70s.
Of course it wasn't.
So it's important for organizations such as Karamu House to bring these stories to life, to bring it to life in a way so that we remember from whence we cometh, to not to repeat those mistakes again. And it's for our other brothers and sisters, many of whom who don't look like us, to better understand when you talk about disenfranchised communities and some of the challenges in the Black communities around economic mobility. We've foundations for hundreds of years, but the destruction of our communities and cultures have been challenged. And so I think it's important to understand history so that we don't repeat those things. And this is no affront to anyone other than for us as Americans to say, let's keep history alive and let's understand the truth in the history that we tell.
Understanding the truth. That is wow. I just can't believe that all the stuff we have to overcome nowadays. And things that you're doing is a prime example of how you overcome them, bringing people together, within your spirit, using that energy instead of just your physical, you're putting everything into this, man. So, that's what it takes, though. That's what it takes.
Well, Karamu, I am carrying on the legacy of this institution because Russell and Rowena Jelliff, Karamu House started as a settlement house. A settlement house was an early form of a social service. They were primarily serving Eastern European immigrants at the founding of Karamu House. At the point that the great migration of Black folks out of the South, the neighborhood changed because it was the central neighborhood. It began to change and Black people came into the hood. And it speaks to the vision and the spirit of the founders that they could have said, no, we're just serve our people. But no, they said we're going to serve the people and the people community. And so inclusion has always been central to who we have been as an institution. And so it's an honor to carry on this legacy now today, 107 years later. Excuse me.
It's a huge responsibility. So tell the audience how can we be of assistance to the great work that's being done at Karamu? How can we go about supporting Karamu?
Well, funds are always important. So going to karamuhouse.org, looking at our website and say donate, because we are a nonprofit, we're a 501c3, and the yeoman's portion of our dollars come from donors and individuals. And quite often people think that philanthropy is for the rich. But what we don't really acknowledge is, Black and brown communities have been into philanthropy for a long time, and most often it's through the church. But I'm a believer that the good Lord won't mind you giving some of that money to Karamu
Right.
and splitting those tithes. Because
can Lord can we get an amen for the people in the back?
That's amen, right. Amen for the people in the back and some of the people at Bedside Baptist.
Yeah.
However, it's important to just give and continue to allow us to your support. Every dollar makes a difference in terms of keeping an organization like Karamu House moving forward. The lights on and the doors open.
I have a question, Tony.
Yes,
are they going to air that Greenwood? Are you guys going to do that? I'm interested in seeing that because I know Earl Porter from Voice of Radio. That's a good guy right there. I see he was one of the lead guys on that.
Yeah. So we will air it. What's that?
Shout out to EP, you know.
All right. Very good, brother. It was great working with him on that project. So yes, we have not confirmed when we will re-air it. We aired it earlier this year, but it will air again. So we have.
I think I was at a venue on the north side of Cleveland where they did a debut for that. I think
there was a screening, and Errol was responsible for producing that screening.
Yep, I think I seen it then, a little bit of it. Yep. So congratulations on that. Just all of these accolades, man. Congratulations on everything, man.
I appreciate it, brother. I appreciate it.
So no, we appreciate you coming on. Giving up some of your busy time for us and for the audience. And I mean, this has been eye-opening for me. I've always had a great respect for theatrical performers, entertainers. I would like to take some lessons from you at some point. Maybe that could be my second career path. Probably, I would probably fail miserably. I'm sure I would fail miserably.
No. But we will be excited to have you at Karamu House at taking a class. So I look forward to that. And that's a witness here.
Put it in work, man.
Permission to dream. I have at least permission to dream about it.
That's right, Doc. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
So, with that in mind, any closing remarks, Jerome?
Well, continue your work. If there's anything that you need, any of the Karamu House family needs any assistance, if you know anybody that needs book bags, you can send them up to 153rd and Kinsman. This Saturday, I'm giving away free book bags for the kids. You must bring the kids from 3 to 7 p.m. You're more than welcome to attend the event if you want. If you need a tow, anything like that, just reach out, man, and continue. I can't wait to come down there and meet you and see one of the plays, man. I'm really looking forward to that.
Thank you. It's been a joy and pleasure having this conversation tonight. And I'm in great company, just conversing and sharing thoughts about Karamu House. I really appreciate it.
I got one request.
Yes, sir.
Give us a couple more notes, man. Come on, man. You did
for the price of a ticket. For the price of a ticket.
Come on, all of the world. You haven't done this for anybody else, and you already broke the rule, man. So a couple more ain't gonna hurt, man. You in it now.
So at some point in the spring, I will do a little something at Karamu House, and I think that will encourage people to come out and check me out and a few other Cleveland folks who you might not expect to see on stage. So in the spring, we're gonna have something special for you all.
Okay, don't no spoiler alert. Don't tell them I'm gonna be there. So
see, there you go again.
So before we sign off, I want to actually recognize Russell Johnson, our production manager, K-Hawk 2 Productions. Couldn't do this without them. So, thank you, K-Hawk 2. And again, thank you for the audience tuning in to Music and Medicine. And thank you, Jerome, for being here, and Tony Sias, president and CEO of the Great Karamu House. And we're going to look forward to visiting you and your performers over there. And thanks again for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
It was an honor.